Hello, Aubrey. How's it going today?
I'm great, Lindsay. How are you?
I am feeling good. I have a question for you today on All Ears
All
English. You
right.
ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you feel about the snack called mochi? Do you like it?
I love mochi. There is this soft serve place called Swirl It near our home that one of the toppings is these little mochi balls, and I have to have
Oh,
them. I love the chewiness, that texture. And then
yes.
you can also get at Costco now mochi. It's like ice cream that has mochi around the outside and Trader Joe's.
Oh,
I
okay.
love that chewiness. What about you, Lindsay?
Yeah, I got really into mochi when I lived in Japan, and I remember thinking the first time I tried it, like the true mochi, just the snack wrapped up in plastic, I
Hmm.
thought, "Ooh, it's not sweet enough." And I was still coming off of my American taste. And then after a year and a half there, I loved it. Loved it.
Yes.
Yes.
That it makes sense that in America, often mochi is paired with ice cream
Yes.
because we want it to be sweeter, but we also love that
Yes.
chewy texture, right?
Yeah, it's good stuff. So, all right, what are we getting into today, Aubrey? I'm excited to talk about sweets.
Yes, this is so fun. This is something Jessica was sharing with us that was new to me, and I love it. It's the letter Q in English. Q is a
Uh-huh.
food texture that's very popular in Asia and now becoming very popular in the States as well. It's that
Interesting.
combination of chewy elastic, like in mochi,
Yeah.
and, boba, those little tapioca balls and boba tea and, like,
Right.
perfectly cooked udon noodles. I love that
Oh.
texture. It's so good, and I had never heard of this, that's how it's described, Q, and then if it's especially Q, then they call it QQ. It's so fun. I'm gonna start using this all the time.
I love it. I love what you learn when you travel the world
Yes.
and, you're on the ground talking to local people. You learn so much. It is fantastic.
Yes, and I love that all of our listeners in Asia are like, "Yes, Q. We love Q, Q,
Yes.
Q." It's so fun. And so this
Yes.
term, it originated in Asia, meaning chewy, but it's evolved to mean a little more than that. And, it's widely used in Chinese speaking communities. You likely will be introducing this to someone in the States if you talk about it. They will be familiar with boba and mochi. But if you call it Q, they might not be familiar, but they are going to love to learn this about Asian culture, Asian language. I was so excited when Jessica shared this with me.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for a connection moment, right?
Totally. Yes.
Sharing
So we want to
flavors,
share.
experiences. Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely. We love talking about food. We love sharing new things we discover about other cultures and other foods. So I
Mhm.
agree. I think this is a fantastic connection topic.
Yeah. So today we're going to give our listeners some new vocab to talk about. Is it like a mouth feeling? Is that what we're showing our listeners, Aubrey?
Yes, right? Like all of the words that we would use in English to describe Q, because if you
Mhm.
want to share this with someone like, what is Q? You're going to need some terms in English, especially if they haven't tried mochi or boba. And
Yes.
so we're going to share that vocab and also some great phrases for starting conversations about this.
Ooh, okay. All right. So let's go into the first one. So the first vocabulary word, Aubrey, is chewy, right? So when you
Exactly.
think of the word chewy, what comes to mind?
Yeah, often like candy, chewy
Yeah.
candies, right?
Oh, sure.
Sometimes you'll call meat chewy if it's like overcooked, sort of. It
Mm,
means it needs to
right.
be chewed a lot before you swallow it.
Mhm.
Noodles, sticky rice, mochi, dumplings, those are Q, all of
Yeah.
those things. I also
Cute.
think of like cooked shiitake mushrooms that
Okay.
really, I love how those get chewy in like a soup.
Got it. Yeah, I love that. I think of caramel or taffy is
Mm,
extremely chewy, right? Saltwater
yes.
taffy. I don't know if that's common in Arizona on the East Coast, especially the Mid-Atlantic. People love that stuff.
California too. Whenever we go,
California.
sometimes we'll go to Balboa Island in Southern
Oh,
California,
yes.
and there's a really
Yes.
good like taffy candy store there. It's so fun with
Yes.
barrels
Cute.
of taffies. I keep saying
Mhm.
toffee, taffy.
Taffy, right, saltwater taffy. Yeah, I
Right.
love it. Okay, so chewy is the first word that our listeners should write down then, right, Aubrey?
Yes, because Q is a combination of chewy and this next one, elastic, which
Oh.
I mean, we use the word elastic to describe so many things, right? Elastic is in clothing a lot when you want
Mhm.
something to stretch, but we
Right.
also use it to describe food. If something is chew and elastic, it means it's capable of being stretched and then resuming its former shape. This is especially accurate for taffy, especially when it's being made and they pull
Right.
it.
Right, and sometimes if you go to those touristy locations, you can see it being made in the
It's
window,
so
right? Very
fun.
touristy.
I
I
love that
love
it's
it.
like a metal
Yeah.
arm that's stretching the taffy. It's so
Yes.
fun to watch.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Do you tend to order any kind of chewy or sticky thing on top of your ice cream? Speaking of ice cream, because we love the topic.
Mm.
Do you tend to get any kind of topping like that?
If I go to Swirl It, I always get mochi. They have
Yeah, the
these
mochi.
little mochi balls that you
Anything
can
else?
add. I love that chewiness of them for sure. My kids love, gummy worms that we have here
Oh,
in the
okay.
States that they're
Nice.
also really chewy. It's a candy. I don't
Yes.
love that on ice cream. That's strange to me, but they
Yeah,
love it.
that's strange to me too.
Yeah, there are these ice cream places now where there are lots and lots of different candies and chocolates that like everything you can imagine that you would wanna put on
Oh,
ice
yeah.
cream, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
always kinda funny to see what my kids choose.
That is funny. I always go for the hot if I do put something on top, it'll be more chocolate, like peanut butter
Yeah,
or hot fudge or something
yeah. You're
deep and
avoiding those
intense. Yeah, I don't
candies,
want the
the
candy.
gummy,
I don't
chewy
no.
candies. That's so funny. So,
Okay,
yeah,
so
if you
elastic.
are describing Q, the best way you can say it if they're like, "No, I haven't had mochi or boba," you can say it's a combination of chewy and elastic, and then you
Okay.
can name some of these other foods. If they have tried dumplings, it's
Yes.
very similar to a cooked dumpling, the outside of a cooked dumpling. So
Oh,
that will help
right.
them be able to understand, what is that Q?
That makes sense. And then what about using the word firm? Also a good word to have in our back pockets. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely. And this, yeah, it's something that's Q is also firm, right? I think
Mhm.
about tofu when I hear the
Mhm.
word firm because
Yeah,
it's like soft or firm. And I do
true.
not like soft tofu. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
Lindsay. I'm a fan of firm tofu.
Oh, yeah, I like all kinds of tofu.
It's
I
nice.
I think in the US, we don't fully exploit it, but definitely, again, back to my experience living in Japan, I mean, it was everywhere, and
Totally.
yeah,
And
I
it
like
depends
it.
on what I'm eating. In a soup, I like
Yeah,
soft tofu, but like in
right.
pad thai, I want firm tofu.
You
So I
want
guess it
firm
depends
tofu.
on the food for sure.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You kind of don't want it to break in your chopsticks, right? That sort
Right.
of thing? Yeah. No, that
Yeah,
makes
that
sense.
makes sense.
Okay,
And
what
so
else?
this, yeah, it's like firm often will refer to meats as firm, like you can imagine chicken, pork, calamari, shrimp when they're cooked,
Mhm.
then you might talk about the firmness of it.
Yes, or springy. Ooh, this one's good. Springy?
Yes.
What do we mean by that?
Yeah, it's like it means it's springing back quickly when it's squeezed or stretched. So we'll
Okay.
often something Q is usually springy, and
Uh-huh.
so it's kind of elastic, right? And also cakes, muffins, shortbreads, those types of things
Right.
are also springy. Where like if you press it down, it's going to spring
Come
back.
back up with the yeast and everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. Good stuff. Okay, Aubrey, where do we go next with it? I feel I'm imagining a moment with our listeners sitting with someone maybe in the US and the UK, describing, kind of explaining what they mean and using these words. I love it.
Yes, I think this is so fun to just spark the conversation, right?
Hmm.
You can first ask someone, just like Lindsay asked me, have you tried mochi or do you like mochi? Do you
Yeah.
like boba, right? We're actually going to do a follow up all about bubble tea, boba tea, and
Cool.
all of the different kinds of fancy teas that are getting really popular in America. Because we're going to do this on business English, Lindsay, because this is very
Hmm.
common to invite a colleague to get coffee or tea for like an informal meeting.
It's a really good skill to have. So make sure, guys, you go over. Aubrey, when is that episode coming up? Sometime, maybe this week,
Next
next
week, so
week.
don't miss
Mhm.
it. Yes.
Yes, go over and, hit follow on the Business English podcast so you are ready to get that episode, which it'll be the complement to this episode, right, Aubrey? The
Exactly.
complement. Yeah, love it.
Yes, right? We could do a whole episode on just bubble tea, boba tea. That's related, right? Those
Yes.
little bubbles are cute as well. If you haven't tried them, you have to. I'm obsessed. I think it's so fun. But yeah, we want to also share, yeah, how you can connect about grabbing a coffee or a bubble tea with someone.
I love it. I love it. So where else, Aubrey? What else should we talk about today?
So, we want to give you a few other phrases just to start this conversation. So,
Mhm.
first of all, you could say, what Asian food is super popular where you live?
Mhm.
And then they will be free to answer if they love Chinese food, Thai food, whatever it is that is popular where they live.
Yeah.
And then there are so many good follow up questions to ask them. What's your favorite? What do you order when you go? Right? To
Yes.
spark the conversation about Asian food in general. Americans love Asian food.
Yeah, for sure. I think fusion is really popular depending on where you live. It has been for years, right? Any kind of combination. I think French and Japanese, or you see all sorts of different combinations in bigger
Yes.
cities, right?
What's your
Mhm.
favorite, Lindsay? What's your
Mhm.
favorite Asian restaurant in Denver?
Mm. There's a good sushi restaurant that I haven't actually tried yet, but I've heard it's really
Mm.
good. It's called Sushi Den, and it's down in another neighborhood. I need to try it. Yeah, the Asian food in Denver, being landlocked, I'm a little
Mm,
biased. I say to myself, is it really going to be that good?"
right.
Right? So I'm a
And if they're
little,
having to fly in the fresh fish, it can be
yeah.
really pricey.
Yeah, so I think definitely on the East Coast, you probably and the West Coast, you might find in general better, but this particular place gets high ratings, so I do need to go.
Nice. And then
Yeah.
you can also ask about Asian grocery stores. I think this is
Yes.
a fun topic of connection. I talk with friends about this a lot, just to
Yes.
recommend, like, what's your favorite Asian grocery store here? There
Yeah.
are a few in Phoenix, but
Yeah.
everyone has like passionate feelings about that, about which one's the best, which one is their go-to.
Yeah, I know H Mart is a big trend on the East Coast. Do you have H Mart in Arizona?
No, we have
H
one
Mart.
called Lily's.
Okay.
That's my favorite, but there are a couple, and I love so much. I go up and down every aisle just
Yes.
looking at everything, and it's probably especially fun for you having lived in Japan,
Oh my
right?
god,
You're
it's
able to see
amazing.
lots of things you're
Yes.
familiar with.
Yeah, I used to go in Boston to H Mart a lot and get curry rice or just get I guess sometimes mochi or also onigiri, right? You know, onigiri, it's the triangles with the seaweed on the outside and the
Okay,
rice
yes.
with the little umeboshi in the middle. Just to feel, or even the green tea that you don't find as much here, just to feel like you're back
Right.
living abroad.
And
It's an
how does it
incredible feeling.
compare the food in Boston? It sounds pretty authentic. How did that compare to when you were living in Japan?
I think probably New York's East Village has
Mm,
better Japanese food than Boston. It's well known for little tiny little izakayas. It was good. I guess it's hard to kind of take the food out of the country. It's never quite the same. You go looking for
for
that same
sure.
experience and you'll never repeat that because it's an important moment in your life. It's about who was with you at that time,
For
right?
sure.
When you
I
were
can
eating.
imagine are any Japanese listeners living in the States are like, "Yes, Lindsay, you're right. It's not as good here." You just can't quite repeat it,
You
right?
can't repeat it. But that's kind of the cool thing about life, right? You can't repeat things in life. So let's fully enjoy them in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, but we've talked about this in the past that, Americans are kind of obsessed with a lot of things about Asian culture. K-pop. We did a
Yeah.
great episode about K-dramas. That was 1947. If you missed it, go back. It was called Three Ways to Talk About K-dramas in English, because
Yes.
these are all great topics for connection. Food,
Oh my
music,
gosh.
movies. It's
So good.
awesome. Don't
Yes.
hesitate to bring this up with friends.
Oh my gosh. Great ways. You don't need to, you can talk about the things you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be something that everyone else is talking about. This could be center around your interests, right? And then pull people in. And then now you have the vocabulary for it. Yeah. So,
Exactly, yes.
okay. Role play time. I'm excited. We're discussing a local Asian restaurant. Shall we do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hey, have you been to Thai Chili Garden? I went last night and it's so good.
Yes, we went a few weeks ago. I got pad thai with tofu that was perfectly firm and so good.
I'll have to try that. Did you order dessert? I always get mango and sticky rice. That sweet, chewy rice is my favorite.
Yum. We got mochi. I love it. It was QQ with that springy, elastic, chewy texture that is just so good.
Oh, fantastic. Sounded
You
very
might not find
natural.
mochi at a Thai restaurant, but
No,
I'm trying to get in all of
it's
these
okay.
texture words, right?
It's okay. Maybe it's a fusion type
Yeah,
restaurant. It's
maybe.
okay. Yeah. So you said, let's see, you said, yes, we went a few weeks ago. I got pad thai with tofu that was perfectly firm and so good. So it's well cooked.
Yes,
Right?
and this would be a great conversation to have with a foodie friend, because
Yes.
some conversations, if you know your friend doesn't care that much, you might just ask about restaurants and then let the
Yeah.
conversation go elsewhere. But I do have friends that this is how the conversation goes. We're sort of describing specifics about the meals because they're interested, they want to know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. In our Connected Communicator course, we talk a lot about food, being a foodie, what it means. We go to an elevated diner in Chicago. So guys, if you're not in that course, go to allearsenglish.com/connection and check it out. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And then you said sweet, chewy rice when you're describing the
Mhm.
mango and sticky rice.
Yes.
Sticky rice is also that Q, you could call it, right? It's that kind of
Mhm.
chewy, elasticy rice, more so than
Ooh.
other rice.
And then the coconut sauce that they put on top
Mm,
of it, of course, is
delicious.
that is the good stuff. That is the
Fantastic.
good
Yes.
but usually when I go, I feel like, well, I guess I don't go to Thai that much, but when I go, I feel like often it's not in season. Mangoes are not in season. And so, it's not available, but have to keep
Yes, that does
trying to
happen a lot. Less so here in Arizona because we get a lot of our fruit from Mexico, and I think they're able
yes,
to grow mangoes most of the year because that doesn't
definitely.
happen here very often, luckily.
So you have access to mangoes and sticky rice all the
Yes.
time.
Yes,
Jealous.
move to Arizona, guys, if you want ripe mangoes all year.
And then you said, yum, we got mochi. I love it. It was QQ with that springy, elastic, chewy texture. Wow,
And
very
then I
just.
love this to, like, throw
Mhm.
QQ into the conversation like this, because then, Lindsay, you maybe would've been like, "What's
What?
QQ? I haven't heard of that," right? And
I know.
I've kind of described it there, that springy, elastic, chewy texture, so
Yeah.
maybe you would just move on and be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I guess that's what that means." But you
Right.
might stop and be like, "Wait, what? I wanna know
Yeah.
more about this
Tell me
word."
more about this. Interesting. I love that. Really
Yeah.
cool. All right, Aubrey, any takeaways for today for our listeners?
Yeah, just guys, Americans in general love Asian food, Asian culture, which makes it a great way to connect in English. So use today's vocabulary and these phrases to spark a conversation. Don't hesitate. This is a great way to get deeper with your friends.
Yeah, I think the best conversations come around topics we're actually interested in from the beginning. Don't feel like you have to talk about politics or you have to talk about something just because everyone else is talking about it. You could talk
Totally.
about your favorite things and still find the connection moment. Right, Aubrey?
Yes, you might discover that a friend has been to Asia and has all kinds of interesting insight, or
Yeah,
maybe you've been to the same place, or at least that you love the same things about Asian culture, even if both of you haven't been there yet. It's
so cool.
amazing what you find in common when you just spark a new conversation.
So cool. Love it. Well, thanks for bringing this topic today, Aubrey. And I am excited to have our listeners go over and hit follow on Business English to get the next part of this series. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Everything you could want to know about taking a coworker, colleague to coffee or tea, and lots of interesting stuff about bubble tea, boba tea
That
in the
is going to
States.
be a super important episode, right? For building that
Yes.
work relationship. All right. Well, I'll see you over there soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.